Welcome to the Exploress. Time traveling through history, one era at a time. I'm Kate Armstrong. Hello there, and welcome to our series on a lady's life in the Viking Age. I can't wait to tell you everything we've discovered about Norse women of the medieval past. But let's start by meeting one of their most powerful and important goddesses. Understanding her mythos and legend, and the religious waters we'll be swimming in, will give us a grounding in the age we're about to travel to. This bonus was originally written for my patrons. If you'd like to support the work I'm doing, you might like to join them over on Patreon, where you'll find ad-free episodes, lots of bonus stuff, behind-the-scenes content, contests, and more. And now, a shout-out to a few of them. My newest boss lady, Anna. My warrior queens, MCF, Gail, Christina, Sarah, Amanda, Ika, June, Neve, and Sloan, Kate, Jessie, and Alexis. My imperial empresses, Sally, Letitia, Teresa, Samara, and Faye and Whimsy Soapworks. And my lady pharaohs, Lori, Kimberly, Cheryl, Cott, Laura, Bridget, Sophie, Kate, and the Fab Courtneys. Get ready for another episode of Goddess, our bonus series about women from myth, folklore, and legend. We asked you all a while ago which goddess you wanted to learn about, and you answered us. Today's episode is about the Norse goddess who was your top pick. Freyja has quite a few nicknames, most of which I'm probably going to mispronounce. My apologies. She's known as the Gefin, the Giver, Mardol, the Sea Shaker, Valfreyja, the Lady of the Slain, and Sire, the Sow. Now hear me out. Calling her a sow, or a female pig, wasn't meant as an insult. In Norse culture, sows were a symbol of fertility, which was one of Freyja's top domains. She also went by horn, which in Old Norse meant flax or linen. Flax was thought to prevent evil and promote fertility, which is why linen was often used to make wedding dresses. There were also several variants of her name: Freyja, 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 and Frua, amongst others, because of the various Germanic languages and dialects of those who worshipped her. We're talking about Norse mythology, of course, which we associate with Scandinavia, but in ancient times, the term Germanic peoples refers to any European ethnic group that used the Germanic languages. There were Germanic tribes living in England, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Switzerland, France, Belgium, and yes, Germany. Thus, Norse mythology was practiced by a branch of the Germanic peoples who were living in the Nordic countries. This Germanic distinction also explains why Freyja is named Freyja. In Old Norse, Freyja means lady or mistress, which was taken from the Old Germanic word Fraujan, an honorific title used for an adult woman of high social standing. This word is also the root of the modern German word Frau, which means married woman. Let's ground ourselves in Norse mythology. There are 3 separate godly tribes. You have the Jotun, which are a race of big, bad giants. The Aesir, who live in Asgard and quite like wars and laws and being noble, upstanding citizens. Gods like Odin, Thor, our time-traveling boyfriend Tom Hiddleston, Loki, they're all members of the Aesir family. The Vanir family, by contrast, lives in Vanaheim and enjoys nature, love, lust, magic, and wealth. Who doesn't? If the Aesirs are a military family with that white picket fence life, the Vanirs are that family who live in a camper van and like to visit free love communities. Freyja is a member of the Vanirs. Once upon a time, the Aesirs and Vanirs went to war with each other, and the Aesirs won. As a part of their peace agreement, they decided to exchange hostages, intermarry, and reign together in Asgard. Freyja, her father, and her brother were all part of the hostage exchange, and they were sent to live with the Aesir. Freyja's mother is unknown, but her father Njord was the god of the wind, sea, and wealth, and her brother Freyr, the god of male virility and the harvest. If Viking guys were having trouble in the bedroom, they'd be praying to Freyr. So what is Freyja the goddess of? You know, all the good stuff. Love, lust, sexuality, and fertility. But she dabbled in a great many other things as well, including magic, wealth, and death. The Norse afterlife has several different realms, including Hell, the realm of Ran, the burial mound, Folkvanger, and Valhalla. Valhalla is Odin's Hall of Heroes, where the spirits of fallen warriors will go after they die. Odin, the Allfather of the Norse gods, would visit battlefields and choose a selection of slain warriors whom he felt were worthy of an eternity in Valhalla. Then the Valkyries, his female winged warriors, would swoop down and transport about half the heroes' souls directly there. The other half were claimed by Freyja, who presided over another paradise called Folkvanger, or the Field of the People. This little party trick is how she earned the nickname Valfreyja, or Lady of the Slain. Why are there two separate paradises for warriors? We aren't really sure, but like Odin, Freyja could also command the Valkyrie, and may even have fought beside them. So we have reason to believe that Freyja was a warrior princess as well. When Freyja isn't claiming dead people, she is practicing magic. The Vanir's were known for a type of magic called Satyr, and Freyja brought knowledge of it with her to Asgard. Satyr involves uncovering the course of fate, and sometimes using magic to change it. People who practiced Satyr were called Volva, and most of them were women, as Satyr was considered a feminine art. Odin, for one, didn't care if magic was girly. He asked Freyja to teach him Satyr as soon as she arrived in Asgard, and she did, despite Loki teasing his father mercilessly for it. Shut up, Loki. No one cares what you think. I mean, unless you come in the form of TV Loki Tom Hiddleston, and then obviously let's find a shadowy corner and you can make fun of anyone you like. Freyja was also celebrated for teaching humans the art of Satyr, which was nothing to sniff at. It was thought that Volva could use their magic to cure illness or cause others to lose battles. In the Viking Age, Volva would travel from town to town, acting as seers in exchange for food and lodging. No surprise, they were both revered and feared as witches, and Freyja was often hailed, and sometimes criticized, as the Queen of Witches. If you saw the queen swanning about town, she'd probably be rocking a cloak of falcon feathers, which granted her the gift of flight. She was also often seen riding in a cat-drawn carriage. Yep, a gaggle of cats, which just feels on brand for her, you know? Often accompanied by Freyja's faithful companion, Hildisvini the battle swine. Most importantly, she'd be wearing her beloved necklace, Brisingamen. The story of how she acquired this necklace goes as follows. One day, Freyja stumbled upon a cave, and inside found 4 dwarves crafting a necklace. She was captivated by its beauty, but the dwarves would only give it to her if she agreed to sleep with all of them. And Freyja did. Look, we don't slut-shame on the Exploress, and she is the goddess of lust after all. And they gave her the necklace. There are a few different versions of what happens next. The oldest one has Loki, the trickster god, shape-shifting into a bug and stealing Freyja's necklace while she's asleep. Distraught, Freyja turns to Heimdall, the guardian of Asgard, who confronts Loki. Loki turns himself into a seal to escape him, but Heimdall turns into a seal as well, and the two have a fight over the necklace. Long story short, Freyja gets Brisingamen back. I mean, if you want jewels that badly, Loki, go sleep with your own cave full of dwarves. Loki being a boisterous and badly behaved gentleman, or what my Aussie friends would call a larrikin, was a common theme in Norse mythology. Another common theme was the gods using Freyja as a sort of sexual bargaining chip. Not cute, but that's mythology for you. It was well known that Freyja wasn't picky when it came to sexy time partners. In one tale, a very drunk Loki says in front of a giant party, "Be silent, Freyja, for fully I know thee, sinless thou art not thyself. Of the gods and elves who are gathered here, each one as thy lover has lain." Accusing Freyja of sleeping with everyone in the room is kind of rich, considering lots of other gods, including Loki, have many lovers. But, like I said, Loki is kind of a larrikin. Still, because Freyja was the goddess of love, sexuality, and fertility, she often featured in the myths as some sort of prize to be won, especially in the eyes of the giants called the Jotun. In one story, the giant Thrym steals Thor's hammer and refuses to give it back until the gods give him Freyja as a wife. Freyja angrily rejects this proposal, obviously, saying, "Most lustful indeed should I look to all if I journeyed with thee to the giant's home." Look, girl does have some standards. In the end, Thor borrows Freyja's necklace and a bridal veil and journeys to Thrym's home posing as Freyja. He's accompanied by Loki, who pretends to be his maid. Together, they retrieve the hammer and kill Thrym whilst in drag. You know, the best sort of boys' night out. In another myth, the giant Hrungnir threatens to sink Asgard and kill all the gods, except for Freyja and Sif, who he wants to take to bed. How flattering? In Prose Edda, another giant offers to build defensive walls around Asgard in exchange for the sun, the moon, and Freyja's hand in marriage. Shockingly, the gods agree to this bargain and allow the giant to build the wall with the help of his magical horse, Svadilfari. When the giant is almost done with the wall, the gods start to worry that they're actually going to lose Freyja. So Loki turns himself into a horse to distract Svadilfari. Apparently, Loki's idea of distraction means having equine sex with him, and so Loki the mare gives birth to an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir. That got weird. Maybe Loki shouldn't be slut-shaming people for sleeping with dwarves? Just a thought. When the giant realizes he won't be able to complete the wall without his horse's help, he flies into a rage, and Thor comes to Loki's rescue, eventually killing the giant and saving Freyja from what would probably have been a pretty unpleasant union. In the later Norse myths, Freyja is often shamed for her promiscuity, even though she's the goddess of sexuality. This is because the later myths were written by Christian authors, who were attempting to wipe out the local mythology in favor of their own religion. Take the story of how Freyja got her necklace, which the church tried to twist to make Freyja look like a sexed-up hoebag in need of the Lord. But in the Old Norse texts, developed before 1000 CE, Freyja's sexuality is often celebrated, even if she is used as sexy bait for giants. Despite all these stories about Freyja sleeping around, she is actually married. Several Old Norse texts claim her husband is an obscure god named Odr, though he is almost never mentioned. The only thing we know about him for sure is that he often went on long journeys, leaving his wife behind. Freyja would weep tears of gold as she searched for him, cementing her status as the goddess of wealth. We also know that Odr and Freyja had 2 daughters, Nos and Gersimi, both variations of the word treasure. Some scholars believe that the goddesses Freyja and Frigg are actually one and the same. Frigg was Odin's wife, the goddess of marriage and fertility, and had prophetic powers much like a vulva. Frigg and Freyja share many similarities in terms of their abilities and their promiscuity. It's thought that Odr is simply an earlier version of Odin himself, as Odin was well known for traveling the 9 worlds in pursuit of knowledge. This would mean that Freyja was simply an earlier version of Frigg. In fact, the name Frigg means beloved, and Freyja was the goddess of love, while Freyja's name is the title for married lady, and Frigg was the goddess of marriage. Clearly, there's quite a bit of overlap between them, which might be best explained by the fact that Norse mythology was practiced by many different tribes in many regions, and thus evolved differently over time. It's possible that Frigg and Freyja were once one goddess, and eventually the Norse split her into 2 separate entities, or that Freyja was simply an earlier version of Frigg. Perhaps they were 2 different goddesses worshipped by 2 different groups of people, and their similarities eventually saw them merged. This also may explain why there is little known about Frigg. Much of her mythology might have been conflated with Freyja's. Whatever the explanation, if you happen to see a beautiful lady rolling around in a cat chariot, give her a shout out, especially if it happens to be on a Friday. After all, Freyja is thought to be behind the modern word, which many believe to have once been Freyja's Day or Frigg's Day. What a sexy way to ring in the weekend. Until next time. Thanks for listening. If you dig the Exploress, and I hope you do, tell a friend about it and leave me a star rating and a review wherever you listen. That really helps like-minded listeners find the show. Thank you, as always, to Carly Quinn, my co-creator and greatest love, for all her work in researching and writing this series. To Joshua Stackhouse for my theme music, and Mr. Exploress, aka Paul Gablonsky, for my logo. Until next time.